Hey, welcome back everyone. We're going to be jumping right back into LookerStudio for our behavior system. This next part, we're going to be getting into the graphs and looking at how we can make more visual effects in LookerStudio. So, without further ado, we're going to jump into where we left off, and we had done the chart filtering where we actually just had our tables break down. So we're going to do something very similar to this, but we're just going to alter a couple of pieces here and there. So the very first thing we can do is let's just go ahead and create a new page. So I'm going to edit this, and I'm going to do new page. And while I'm in here, we're just going to go into manage page. We looked at how we can name these. So now let's rename this one graphs. So I just went into manage page, 3 dots, and now we're going to do graphs. So I'm in here. I can start building different ones that I want to do. And just like what we did with the tables where we just kept picking and picking and picking, we can do the same thing. So we can do a column chart for our first one and think about what we want to actually be here. So in this one, it is the teachers. And so we can leave that alone if we want to. We can have that be a graphic of its own piece. Now, while I'm here, you'll notice I can click on these and it will actually still filter pieces. And you're going to see that kind of come in handy later on. I want to click Style. We can change it either horizontal or vertical. We can show the labels. I like having the labels on there. It makes it where it's very clear cut data pieces. I can change up my colors a little bit. Once again, if I'm wanting to have different pieces to be different things, I can kind of tweak that and have it where it fits the color scheme that you're going off of. We can show the axis title and get the record count. I don't really see that being too much, but I do like having the show axis title right here on the x-axis instead of the y. We can come in and have different elements to be kind of showing where each of the inputs was actually occurring at. But the big thing is I might want to add in some other visual components. So let's add in a little background color, add a border shade to it, maybe add an actual boundary around it. So you can actually tweak these just like what we did with our table. So I have this piece in, I can come in and do the same thing again and insert another chart. Now you'll see it's already recognized I did teacher. Now it's going to jump to behavior, and I can just keep doing this. I can insert another column chart and just keep filling this up with different charts to see what's actually going on. So here's where it gets a little weird because now I'm into the description. This is going to get crazy. I don't need all these different descriptions. So I'm going to actually change this up. And now I can actually get into, let's say, grade. Now, would this type of chart be the best for that? I can see the bar charts are probably not what I'm wanting for this one. So I can back out and then turn around and do insert a different style. And this time, let's go into a pie chart. Actually, I'm going to use this tool instead because this is a little more visually handy. So I'm going to add in a pie chart for this one. And same thing, I want to swap this out for grade. And now let's look at the different styles I can do here. I can have it into a single color and it'll just do different gradients of that. But what I like is actually having it where you can actually come in and start really tweaking and getting into your different color schemes that you want to actually work off of. What's really interesting, one of our schools actually, each grade level has a color scheme. And so this is really good for them to have that consistency of what they're used to looking at. So if third grade is the green doors or something like that, that's a nice little consistency they can do. I can scroll this little bar over and I'll put a donut hole into it, just a visual piece if you want to have that in there. Once again, I can come in and I can add in some bordering. some shadow effects, and all that to make this fit with whatever design scheme you are actually trying for. So those are really handy. Now, once I start building all these tables in, I can then look at, all right, well, here's freshman. I want to click freshman. It's going to filter all the other graphs to fit that data. And it's really emphasizing that this is what I'm currently looking at. Everything else has become more opaque. And then maybe I want to look at Miss Brown. And now I've got freshman Miss Brown. And you notice it got rid of a few because Miss Brown doesn't actually have the other piece of data. And then I can get it even further. So freshman Miss Brown. So really neat way of pulling up your data. I can do here and see, all right, this is now the new percentage based on disruptive talking. These are the breakdown of these groups. Let's look at Miss Brown again. If I was just to click Miss Brown, you see it's 50-50. She's put in equal number of tickets for freshman and sophomore. So really neat way of just continuously add in data. There are a couple other charts that we're going to get to in a second, but we can do kind of a series progression with this. One thing I like on here is actually a sunburst chart, and I'll show you that here in a second, but I wanted to add one more. We can do stack columns. They're not a bad graph to actually have in here as well if you're looking at these multiple pieces. I would recommend this be like a one-page chart, but you're seeing how easy it is to jump in and add these different charts. So the next thing I want to do is what's called a sunburst on here. And so I'm going to insert one more page. So I'm going to page new. I won't get into naming this just yet. So right next to the add chart is this community visualization. This is a really handy tool. And the one I like on here is this sunburst. And I'll show you what it does. So I'm going to give it consent for the data. And I am going to start ordering this how I really want this to go. So the very first thing is I'm going to say we're going to group this by grade. So these are different grades. You can see when I hover, it actually gives me that input. And then from the grade, I'm going to look at, let's do location for this. Where's that at? I want to do grade and then location. So what's happening is for freshmen, it's grouping all this segment, this arc, and now I'm seeing here's how much of the freshman classroom, here's how much the senior classroom, and you can actually see the percentages breaking down. But I get to keep going with this. Now I'm going to get into maybe the behavior at those said locations, and it's breaking the chart even further and further and further. So let's look at style real quick before I get in too far. You can get into the color schemes. You can have it show the legend, and you're going to see that's going to come in handy here in a second. So I'm just going to leave that as is. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger because this is the only chart I'm putting on this page. And you see what just happened there, but I'm going to undo that. New. Okay. I'll back it back out. All right, so here's my data. I'm wanting to have a conversation, and I'm seeing, okay, right now, my freshman is having the biggest issue. So I'm going to click freshman, and now all of this data is just freshmen. The biggest concern is classroom, which we know that, but honestly, the bus is a little higher than, and the cafeteria is a little higher than I want. So maybe I can click in there. Now I'm seeing this is the majority. I can always back it back out and then look at, okay, well, let's look at the juniors. Here's our behavior issue with the juniors. We can just keep going and going with these. And this is really handy for conversation pieces. This is a really cool tool because it is visually showing you every little piece that's happening, that's taking place. I will say this tool, it's hard for people to initially understand, but when you actually start having conversation with people, they'll ask you to kind of, okay, well, what about this? If I want to jump right into cafeteria, I'm looking at grade, senior, location. Now I'm looking at behavior and seeing what's actually taking place there. So really cool. These visualizers, they are very easy to control. They communicate with each other when they're on the same page, so they can act as filters for other pieces. So you can really expand on your information and your data. So I thank you guys for your time yet again. Please don't hesitate to reach out and ask questions to me. Thank you. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe and share with other educators your passion for transforming education. Keep innovating, educating, and changing lives. See you in the next video.